All right. Well, let's pray. Father God, I thank you, Lord, this morning. What a privilege to be here. Lord, what a wonderful thing you've been showing and doing and working on for each of us this week, Lord, to bring us to this point this morning. Lord, may we really listen to what you have for us today. And Lord, as we get into the practicals and do stuff, Lord, may we be called deeper in what we have. Lord, I just thank you for all of this, Lord, in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Okay, well, this is going to be kind of an experiment this morning. Everything changed on me this week. I was preparing for a certain topic that we're doing on worship, and it blew up on me worse than normal. My wife firmly reminded me that I was supposed to do a practical. We've been doing practical passage. So she reminded me I needed to do a practical. So that's what we're going to be doing today. This is, you got to know that the Lord is doing a massive thing, okay? How do you keep track of all the things that God is trying to tell us? So anyway, today, what do I do with myself? That's a good question, actually. Anyway. John 4:20 is what we've been using as our launch off for all of this. But an hour is coming, and now is, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father also seeks such, the ones worshiping Him. God is spirit, and the ones worshiping Him must worship in spirit and in truth. It's the foundation of all our worship, is we are trying to figure out how to worship God in spirit and in truth. What is really funny is worshiping Him in spirit is easy. Worshiping Him in truth isn't. That has been the problem. But God is actively seeking us to worship. We need the truth. We need to walk in that truth. Now, a couple weeks ago, we started talking about the heavenly scene. I'm just doing a little review for you. What did we see in chapter 4 of Revelation? Revelation chapter 4, we saw the throne of God. We found that that's the Ark of the Covenant. That's the pattern of it. We saw the very throne with the Father on it. And He was as the color of jasper and sardius with an emerald rainbow. And the beauty of seeing this amazing scene. All Old Testament. All Old Testament. 24 elders on 24 thrones. We talked about who they were, what they do. What they do is they worship Him. That's, in essence, what we see them doing. They talk a little bit to other people. We found that out. They did talk to John a little bit. We saw the 7 lamps of the 7 spirits of God, which is the heavenly menorah. We didn't talk on that much on that time because we had more to talk about it on chapter 5. We've talked about the 4 living creatures and what they were like flying around the throne and what they saw, full of eyes in and out, everywhere. Everywhere they have a place, they have eyes. Well, that's one of those, wow, that's weird. Well, what do? Well, they look at everything, but everything they see tells them how holy God is and causes them to worship. Now, this is kind of a fascinating deal. Have any of you had to deal with any defilement lately? Now, this is kind of an interesting deal. What does it make you do? You see, instead, we look at the defilement and go, it's all bad, it's all junk, it's all crud, and we get all down. And no. What should it do? Every time we see something, it should remind us how holy God is and cause us to worship. It isn't about us being wiped out because of all the defilement. You got to understand, in my office, I deal with defilement all the time. Piles and piles and heaps. Front loaders full of it. I mean, but what should it cause to happen? Instead of we get depressed, we get weighted down, we get emotionally involved, we get all this stuff happening on us, that's the wrong response. What should the right response to be? Everything we see should remind us how holy God is. And every time we see how holy God is, we should see how holy He's made us to come into His presence. See, we should be changing how we think and how we respond to things. We should be changing how that all works. Because, man, everything should be causing us to worship. Are we worshipers? Well, God is seeking such to worship Him. See, we always get this feeling that we're in here trying to coax God to come into His presence. Come, Lord, bring your presence. We keep like, well, if we worship just right, then the Spirit will show up. No. He's here. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are here. They are here today. They are here. You say, why doesn't He manifest? Who says He isn't? The issue is not, God is not manifesting. The issue is on how well our antennas are up.
That's right.
On how well we are receiving who He is. Did we have the presence of God here today? People say, well, I didn't feel it. It wasn't God's fault. How's your antenna? Are you seeking Him? He's seeking you. Fascinating. We also saw the glassy sea, which is the pictured heaven of the laver, and how that all flowed together. Well, then we went right from that into chapter 5. What did we see in chapter 5 last time we got together? We saw the scroll. A scroll was there, written in and out, and had 7 seals on it. We don't know exactly what it looks like, how it worked. We've been talking about this. Is it bands? Is it whatever? It's just kind of fascinating. But we also saw, John says there was nobody worthy to open it. And he was starting to weep. And one of the elders, one of the 24 elders says, hey, dude, notice nobody else is weeping? Did you notice that? You're the only one freaking out because no one was found worthy to open the seals? He says, we're not freaking out because no one's found worthy. Why? Because we know that the Lion of the tribe of Judah has been found worthy. And he talks about the Lion. Oh, man, the Lion of the tribe of Judah has been found worthy. And he says, we're not freaking out because we know that nobody was ever going to be found worthy but Him. He says, quit weeping, guy. You're missing the picture. Here's something cool. And he says, really? So he looks. I know that he was anticipating seeing the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And what did he see? The lamb. The lamb that was standing, having as it had been slain. Blood all the way on it. It shows a little trickle there, but this is how much blood would there be if completely, he's standing there with a completely opened throat. Oh, amazing. But He's alive. And He has 7 eyes and 7 horns, which are the 7 spirits of God that go out into all the, whoa. Well, that causes us to wonder, talk about the 7 spirits of God. Wow! How are they manifesting throughout the earth? Where are they? Which is, again, the menorah, but it's not. It's linked to all that. And we also heard about the prayers of the saints being offered up as incenses. Well, what's that? That shows the heavenly altar of incense, the golden altar of incense. Wow! That personal relationship with God as the prayers of the saints are being offered up. Pretty amazing. And then all heaven breaks loose. Everybody thinks it's a big deal when all hell breaks loose. That's the expression. Hey, hell's got nothing on heaven. All heaven breaks loose is a bigger deal. Amen. I like this. All heaven breaks loose. And the celestial beings and all the people there. And they said angels and myriads upon myriads and thousands upon thousands and more than you can count. It's all these angels coming in. And what did they say? Holy, holy, holy. Worthy is the Lamb who was and is to come. Be to Him glory and honor and power and blessing and might and dominion, and just the list goes on, and it's just. You want to know what blew up on me? Anybody want to know what it was that blew up on me that I couldn't bring to you today? Glory. I've been touching at the glory, working at the glory, worrying in the kind of understanding of what worrying is like eroding, working at the glory for ever. It seems like it's one of those things that has been bugging me for decades, and it walked up and slapped me. And then I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to explain even what I'm getting. I'm not doing a good job on that yet. And so I'm going, I be heaven. The Lord says, it's not time. Oh, okay. Why do I want to teach it? So I learn it. Well, I don't have a grip on it completely. But man, blows my little head. So we're going to do this today instead. Worship, we did find, and all of that causes worship. You want to see everybody worshiping, then you enter in. That's all there is to it. You start worshiping. Worship causes worship. And I'm counting on that because I'm going to, my goal today is to worship Him. I'm going to worship Him today. I'm hoping worship causes worship. I'm assuming, since Miranda knows all there is to know about worship, that she will also enter into worship today. We'll go with it. You're on. All right, rock on. Well, there's two of us. Where two or three are gathered, there is He in the midst. Do you want to join us? See, I think there's more than just two of us that are going to go in today. I think that we have a few worshipers around this room. Worship causes worship, but worship also causes humility. I have never seen somebody walk up and go, I'm a good worshiper. Worship causes humility. Worship gives us His life. It makes us connect with who He is. Keep that in mind. Worship is wonderful. Okay, that's review. Was that fast enough to run over Revelation 4 and 5? The heavenly scene. I tell you, folks, we just don't get it. And the biggest thing we got to know is that even in chapter 4, which was all Old Testament because the Lamb hadn't come yet, chapter 5, which is New Testament, when the Lamb shows up, one thing is absolutely evident. Heaven is not quiet. Amen. Heaven is not quiet. And man, they're going nuts in there. When all of the angels that has ever been created are worshiping, that's not quiet. Amen. Boy, I want to see it. You know, I think of people that I know that have died. Okay? Wow. I was up in Wyoming. My brother-in-law had to do a funeral, his first funeral he's ever done. Whose funeral? His co-worker. And I asked him, I says, is he a believer? He says, 3 days before he died. Under the wire. Guess what he's doing right now? He never knew what worship was, and now he's going, oh, this is cool. Wish I'd figured this out a long time ago. You know? He's there. My mom and dad. What do they know about worship? Some. Dad got into it. Okay. Mom could. What are they doing now? Freaking out. They're not acting like Baptists right now. They are going for it. Probably got in trouble on that one. My wife shook her head. I can usually tell when she goes. Worship. The Father is actively seeking worshipers. That's so important for us to know. And we've been looking at practical ways to enter in. What are the practical things? We talked about the music. We've talked about how to come with an anticipation. Remove all religion. Come in knowing to prioritize our worship time. And that's what we want to do. What's important? See, it's not just the music time. It's a time to contact God. A time to be in relationship intimacy. Time to come to Him personally. What we want to do is we want to make sure that everybody doesn't come because they're worried about anybody sitting next to them or sitting around them. You've got to come and understand that you will be totally and absolutely alone with Jesus. Say, well, I'm not really comfortable. Then there's a problem. You got to be comfortable being alone with Jesus. You say, well, what if I'm not? Then let's get together and deal with the things that are hindrance that are keeping you from becoming comfortable being alone with Jesus. You know what is probably the biggest hindrance to that is fear. You know why? Because we know that He knows everything. Psalms 139 says, search me, O God, and know my thoughts. Try me, know my heart. Search me. You know what that word for search means? It means to penetrate to the utmost. Keep getting more scrutiny and more scrutiny and more scrutiny and more scrutiny until it's found. Search me. Whew. We're afraid of him. What's he going to expose? Well, everything. You say, well, you're not helping the cause here. You're not giving it. You're helping me fear. Oh, no. He already knows. It's not like he's trying to find out. What is he doing? He's trying to show you what the hindrance is. No fear. What's it going to cost you? Everything. Might as well just deal with it right now. What's it going to gain you? More than you've ever known. Worship him. Become knowledgeable about his presence. Is he here? Put up your antennas. Find him. I find this works for me. Find him. I do this in my office all the time. It's okay. Jesus is somewhere standing around. Find him. And you can just see people. They have their eyes closed, but you can see their eyes going. And they go, ah. And you can tell when they found him. Walk up to him. Look him straight in the eye. This is too fun. Know about his presence. Seek him as he is seeking you. And then deal with distractions. They're going to happen. So what? Who cares? God's not fragile. You're in his presence. And somebody steps on your foot. Hey, that happens. They're worshiping too. And they get like this and poke you in the eye. Poof. You deal with distractions. So what? It's not fragile. Get back in. No, bless them. Give them boxing gloves so they can't poke you in the eye anymore. Something. Okay, here we go. We're going to go into new stuff. Here we go. Hands. Huh? Hands. Extremely controversial in my past. You have no idea how controversial this could be. In the Southern Baptist church we were in, which, by the way, the people that I grew up with considered the Southern Baptists to be liberal. Okay? So here I was, a youth pastor in a Southern Baptist church, and we were trying to go from just hymns to actually doing some choruses. And if we had a chorus that had the words "lift up your hands" in it, the pastor wouldn't let us sing it. So we had to get real sneaky around him. Remember that song? Lift up your hands in the sanctuary and bless ye the Lord, right? We had to sing, lift up your hearts in the sanctuary and bless ye the Lord. Couldn't raise hands. How dare you? Very controversial on our part. My brother, we went to a gospel concert, gospel quartet, and boy, the people sitting in front of us were raising their hands like this, and Gene couldn't see the stage because this guy's big old hands, and he said, if I had a pellet gun, he wouldn't raise his hand, I'll tell you. That was said in the middle of the... He was upset that somebody was raising his hands in front of him. I can't see the stage. Whoa. Yeah, I remember that because it tickled me. And he had done it. If he had a pellet gun, he'd have shot the guy right in the hand. He was so upset. Amazing. Raising your hands in praise. We've heard it. Do you do it? Have you ever tried it? I mean, it's just kind of interesting. Have you ever raised your hands in praise? It is amazing to go to the Broncos game. Oh, yes. If you want to know about certain forms of worship, go to the Broncos game. I am not kidding. Man, these guys get exuberant. Yeah! Move it! You touchdown! Yeah! Everybody's just... And the wave. Okay. It's too funny. I always talk with my hands. Why wouldn't I use them when I talk to Jesus? Makes sense, huh? Say, but you're not Italian. You don't have to be Italian to talk with your hands. Most people do. If you want to really get somebody shut up, have them sit on their hands for a while. Don't know how to talk. Expression of worship. I express everything. So why can't you express in worship? Lord, you're just too amazing. But now it's becoming the standard. It really is. When you go to concerts, you go to different things, it's not as controversial as it used to be. Now everybody does it, including the Baptists. Who would have thunk? There's defilement. There's sin in the camp. I don't know. It's just like, but it's just, we finally got used to it. Kind of got used to it. But it is a source of humor. Now, I got to show this to you. And, okay, here we go.
Which is cool. Some people are more expressive in worship, some people more subtle, and it's all good. I go to a church that's pretty expressive in worship. It's a hand-raising church. That's what it is, right? That's what, anybody here go to a hand-raising church? Am I here? Sweet. Who here does not go to a hand-raising church? Some of you are trying, you're like, I can't. I want to, Tim. I need to get some momentum. Totally cool. But hey, if you're not used to going to a hand-raising church, you want to go and join us, feel free to join us, but don't feel like you got to join right in, okay? Start slow. We got a lot of different hand raises that we use. We actually have names for our hand raises. So I'm going to walk you through real quick, okay, what they are, just to let you know. Say you're at my church, music is rocking. Start slow, hands in the pockets, little elbow flap, you're fine. Very subtle. Get warmed up, get your heart rate up. When you're warmed up, start with the first one. Ready? Carry the TV. Carry the TV, that's our first one. Very subtle. Go to big screen, a little wider. Next one's my fish was this big. My fish was this big. If you're a liar, you go out there, that's fine, don't worry about it. Jesus loves you, grace. Next one's hold my baby, hold my baby. Got dueling light bulbs, that's our next one, dueling light bulbs. We got goalpost, everybody knows goalpost. Throwing a heartburn, a lot of people like to do heartburn. Double heartburn, right back to goalpost. What's my favorite? Mufasa. Mufasa, that's my favorite. The circle of life. Tim, can you go higher? Yes, you can. You can take one hand, go a bunch of different stuff. Pointer, hatchet, schoolroom. Release the doves, give the Lord a high five, press it out. A lot of women like to wash the window. Wash the window. And when you're comfortable there, go for the big three. Village people, Rocky, touchdown. There you go, there's your big three. You're set.
I relate to dueling light. Actually, I've washed my own windows. I know how that is. He says the women like, hey, I am a window washer. It's all good. Well, that's Tim Hawkins, by the way. If you've just got nothing better to do, just jump on YouTube and just Tim Hawkins. We won't be doing that. We will have no humor in the house, okay? I don't have anything to do. Okay, there's a Carmen song, and he say people talk about raising hands. He says, well, when I was in school, people said, well, if you have the answer, raise your hand. Well, I know who the answer is, so I raise my hands. I love it. There's no right or wrong way. Folks, it's an expression of worship. Even though we like the humor part of it, but really, there is no, I do know that sometimes my arms get tired. It goes down to this. Okay? One arm gets tired, goes to the other arm. Why do you raise hands? Why? What's the purpose behind it? It actually is an expression of who you're talking to. It's a connection. The Bible did talk about, remember when we talked about the laying on of hands in the healing thing, is it talks about how God's power comes out of his hands. Rays of light come from his hands, and therein lies his power. Wait a minute. Power unto the Lamb? Power is one of the things, Lord, I give power unto you. It's a submission thing. It's something of talking to him. I have found that when people just do not raise their hands, they feel a hindrance. They get stymied in it. man, it's one of the first things. Don't worry about what the person sitting next to you thinks or what's going on. Get your hands up. Try it. Express to him, Lord. And there's so many times, it's about you, Lord. It's about you. It's about you. Now, you want to know who has the hardest time raising hands? Musicians. Because they never have the chance. They're always doing this. They're always doing the stuff like this. And finally, when you don't have a guitar in your hands, you don't do them. Psalms 28:2. Hear the voice of my prayers in my crying to you when I lift my hands toward your holy of holies. As I cry out to you and I lift my hands to your holies of holies. This shows I'm going this way. This shows I'm receiving this way. There are times, this is the only, Lord, come. Lord, come. This one is the one I get. That's the one I love. And then when I'm expressing back to him, I just know it comes both ways. Okay? Man, I lift up my hands toward your holy of holies. 63:4 says, so I will bless you while I live. I will lift up my hands to your name. I will lift up my hands to your name. To your name. In your name. That was the other one that I didn't put up there. It said to your name. Sorry. In your name. Either way you want to look at it, how deep can that be? To raise hands in his name? Do you have his name? Do you understand his name? Are you submitted to his name? Do you understand what that name means? Oh, you need to get back into the covenant series to find out what it means to do stuff in his name. Whew, too deep. Psalm 134, 1-3. It's a song of ascents. This is the entire psalm, by the way. Behold, bless Jehovah, all servants of Jehovah, who stand in the house of Jehovah at night. Lift up your hands in the holy place and bless Jehovah. May Jehovah bless you out of Zion, he who made the heavens and earth. There's only one action thing in there. Lift up your hands. Now, if you don't, is there any condemnation to you? No. No, that's not the issue. The issue is, are you willing to go further? Are you willing to go, actually make that next step, to step out and do something a little bit different, a little bit more, express your worship to him? What have we been talking about? Coming into his presence where you are alone with Jesus. That's what we've been talking about. Coming in. It's all about you being alone with him. Express yourself to him. Because if you don't have the hands, you're going to have a real hard time with the next one. No, it's not feet. Lift up your feet in the sanctuary. It kind of is. It's about dancing. The dance. Listen, I've had lots of people come to me and ask me, what's up with that? You see, they're used to the charismatic jig. This is it. This is the dancing. This is it, because you can stand at your seat and you dance. If you really get into it.
Yep, that's it.
You know, really? Yeah. Why do we think that only the world can do it? You know, the world goes out dancing. The world is dancing all the time. What about all this? So you think you can dance stuff and all these different things. We give this to the world to dance. What about us? I love good dancing. I just love it dearly. Man, to have, ever since we became charismatic, so we never had this before, but ever since we got baptism in the Holy Spirit, the churches we've been in had recessional and processional dancing. A processional dance, people come in, flags and dancing and banners, and man, we've seen some amazing things. And at the end of the service, have it again, a recessional. Haven't seen that in a long time. Long time. It's a high expression. It gets your whole body into it. And there's no less points for style. Now, I get Kimberly up here doing her dance thing, and everybody goes, wow, because that's an anointing she has. She does the dance. That's really cool. Get her father up here trying to do the same thing, and people going, really? we should nail that man's feet to the floor. Folks, there's no points less for style, because I'm not dancing for you. Sometimes when we have an interpretive dance, it's a ministry and it's an expression to talk to people and to get them. But really, when it comes to worship, can you dance? Yes, you can. You say, well, no, it's ugly. No, it's not to Jesus. And He's the only one you're dancing for. I dance before Him a lot. When I'm not doing worship, I'm out here doing something. I refuse to just stand in one spot. It's really hard for me when I go to conferences and you're jammed in. I'll find a place. The fact is, they used to talk about this in some of the Pentecostal places. This one guy kept saying, just clear off a place and have a fit. I love that expression. Clear off a place and have a fit. Okay, nobody's giving points for fits. As long as you call it a fit and not dancing, then nobody cares. You can just do whatever you want. It's kind of fun. Why would we do that? We've got to get to the point where we don't care about somebody's opinion. Who here knows who Smith Wigglesworth is? 4 or 5 hands, few hands up. Smith Wigglesworth was a traveling evangelist, preacher, prophet, amazing man. Over 300 pounds. Massive man. Massive. He was a plumber. He was an old man when he got born again. He had never read the English language until he got born again. And from that point on, the only thing he ever read was his Bible. He learned how to read, read his Bible. Miracles followed this man. Revivals. It was an amazing thing. History behind him is amazing. Actually, the person who was amazing was his wife. She was amazing, because she put up with him while she was a believer and he wasn't yet. And he was antagonistic and he was a force to be reckoned with. And he told her one night, he says, you go to that meeting and I'm locking the door. She says, whatever you need to, honey. The Lord told me to go to this meeting. I have to. So she went to the meeting, and he did. He locked the door out of spite. After she left, she heard him do it. Click. Well, he was going to unlock it later. He was just trying to, but he forgot. In the morning, he got up. She wasn't in bed with him. He went, oh, I locked the door. He ran down and he opened the door, and she fell in. And it woke her up. She had covered herself with newspapers and everything, and she huddled at the door and just tried to sleep, huddled in the frame of the door. And he opened up and she fell in. And she got up and says, oh, honey, I'm sorry your breakfast isn't ready. I'll get it right after. And jumped up and ran to the kitchen. Submission. She knew how to minister to him. It racked his world. When he got saved, he got big time saved. He had traveled around these places, but the one thing that he did learn is that every morning at 6 o'clock, 5:30 to 6 o'clock, he was up every morning, and one of the first things he did was he danced before the Lord. He weighed how much? Where did they put him? Usually in the uppermost room of the house, because that's where the guest rooms were. And all of a sudden, here it's 5:30 in the morning, kaboom, 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 and he's dancing before the Lord. People learned to put him in different rooms. Basements, barn, I don't care, somewhere. But he every morning danced before the Lord. Every morning. Wow. He didn't care about people's opinions. When we start talking about the fear of death, one of the biggest deaths we fear is the fear of social death. The fear of social death means we are totally afraid of what people will think about us. When we are still afraid about what people think about us, we are not afraid of what the Lord thinks about us. We have got to get that together. What does he say? Why don't you dance before the Lord and find out? Give the expression to him. Because it comes to be an emotional response. Why do I dance? I don't dance because I have to. I dance because I need to. I dance because I need to express to him what's going on. Now listen, I've got a very great love affair going with these flags. Flags is just another expression of dance. That's all it is. It's just dancing with a different way. When we were in England, Randall and Teresa and I, for a Pure Man conference, we went to a church one Sunday morning, and there was a man. We watched it, you know. We just sitting there waiting for the service to start, down front row center, because I was the speaker. Okay, put you right down there. And we looked over, and out of the side door comes this guy, and he's about 5'3", 5'4". Wasn't very tall. Wiry, just a wiry kind of guy. And he had a flag like this. I mean, that's a lot of flag. A guy that's 5'3", right? He came out and he's holding his flag, and he's just holding it. And we thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. You know, don't know what it was about. Worship started. They had to worship first. They prayed, and the first strains of that song, or they got up there, and the first thing they did when they said, "Let's pray," he took the flag and he covered himself with the blood of the Lamb. Big red flag. And when they got done praying, he got ready and he stood back. The first strains of that music, he launched himself out in front. And he started doing flags, and this flags was all martial moves, and he was just, boy, just powerful. Pow. And we all... And I thought I was the only one noticing. And I looked over at Randall, and he had his mouth open. He's watching this guy. Now, if you know Randall's a weightlifter kind of guy, big, and he's a big guy. Manly, doesn't want to do anything that's not manly kind of a thing. He's watching this guy, and he's just like this. And so I looked around him, and Teresa's sitting there going, and she's watching this guy. All three of us were watching this. The anointing that's coming off this guy was stunning. And he started doing stuff, and every time they stopped to pray, he covered himself in the blood. I was blown away. I was so blessed. And man, worship for us was a completely different experience, because it was not so much me getting into it as it was me following on the coattails of somebody who was getting into it. And I went, that's awesome. And I looked at Randall, and he, I said, just an expression like, wow. And he looks at me and he says, in that nice deep voice of his, he said, "I'm getting me a man flag." I'm getting me a man flag. I went, yeah, right on. And so we started telling the stories of different places. And this lady out in Salt Lake City that I went out to minister, she started making me these flags. Okay? I think they're fun. They are an expression to me when I get out there and I have found that I can't whine in prayer with a flag in my hand. It's kind of the same thing of having a sword in your hand. I can't whine, oh God, it's all so bad when you have a sword in your hand. Something about the same thing with this, because these to me, what do? I do the same things as my sword moves. Is exactly what I'm doing. To me, it's a powerful... It also sounds to me like angels' wings. And I love the sound of it. I love the visual of it. I love the power of it. And man, when I express, and I get the different colors out. I look at all these colors we got. Man, there's something about the blood of the Lamb. Righteousness. I'm covered with his righteousness. And I'm worshiping my God who, with his blood, made me righteous. And I get into it. This is dancing. I love it. I think I carry flags with me. Sometimes when I go to the conferences, if I can find a place. Mostly there's just not enough room. Went down to Bridgeway for a pastor's conference down there one day, and it wasn't full. I had this little corner, and they had some flags out. So I grabbed a flag, and I started going for it. Started breathing heavy. Boy, just going for this thing, man. I was just having fun. And when it was cool and tender and different stuff, and when it was just raucous praise, and I was going after it, I got tired. Honey, put it down. Went over to a seat, and I was just standing there, just worshiping like, with everybody else. And this guy reached over and he grabbed my arm. And I turned around like, do I need to get out of your way or whatever, And he said, "Thank you for that." And he was crying there. Why? Because men don't know that men can express manly things in dancing. By the way, that takes a wrist.
It does.
You'll find your gripper after a while. And these are not light. And I'll tell you, I love the streamers too. Man, you can express. The things you can express with the streamers is unique. Once you're practiced with it, you can surround yourself with the blood of the Lamb. You can also express yourself going, Lord, to you, Lord. You could talk about things on earth, bringing them into heaven. I love it. The streamers are cool. The streamers take an arm. It will work your shoulder and a wrist. The colors mean something. We've got lots of colors. We've got purple, royalty, blue, the presence of God. There's something about taking a blue flag, knowing that they covered everything with blue to show the presence of God when they had the tabernacle on the move. Presence of God. Man, what are you doing when you have the presence of God? I find myself interceding for the people, and I bring that flag over the people, praying for the presence of God over people. Hey guys, get a flag. You can sure borrow some of mine. I've got a few. It's the freedom of a relationship, expression of a freedom, because I can do this for you. Okay, practiced versus spontaneous. It's been a while. I want to get her dancing more, and her dancing more, and her dancing more. And I'm messing with the Eddie clan today because the expression of dance is so beautiful when it's practiced, when you get a song and to worship with the song and to see the expression of the dance. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I just love that. But I love the spontaneous dance too. And some of you remember Mike Walsh. Mike, big guy. Not the most coordinated, I guess, is about the way to put it. It wasn't pretty dancing. It was gorgeous dancing. Because it didn't matter. And he would dance, and he would be up here, and he'd take one of the little banners, and he would walk around shaking the banner and dancing in front, and he would do whatever, and it always blessed my heart. People say, well, wasn't pretty. Oh, yes it was. Who are you looking at? You're looking at that heart that's willing to just not care what anybody thinks and to worship. Try it. We've got lots of room in this place. We got places for flags and streamers and dancing and running, and it just doesn't matter. Be spontaneous with your dance. It's all good. Psalms 149. Let Israel rejoice in his maker. Let the sons of Zion be joyful in their king. Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praise to him with the timbrel and lyre. One of my favorite YouTube videos is this female cop who stops this cowboy. She knows he's drunk. She knows he is. And then she gets him out and she says, I want you to walk a straight line. And he does. Perfectly. She says, I want you to cite the alphabet backwards from Z to A. And he goes, A. Perfectly. Like this. And she says, oh, that's pretty amazing. I don't think I could do that. And he just laughs. And she says, okay, can you do this? And he says, step, bump, bump, step, bump. Step, bump, bump, like this. And he goes, sure. He goes, bump, bump, like this. And you got to do a wheel kick in there. And he just down like this. He's doing all these dance steps. And he's just going nuts. Like that. She says, that's pretty amazing. He says, you should teach people about these. I can't do that. He says, I'm drunk. And she goes, aha. He goes, got me! Ah! And she arrested him right there on the spot. But it's just like, but he didn't care about dancing. He just went for it. Why? Because he is drunk. That one tickles me. I don't think I can go through the alphabet backwards like he could.
That was practice.
I had to think hard. I had to think hard to do it. He just went, ba-bum. Oh, crazy. Jeremiah 31:13. Now, you got to understand how this says this, because this is just too cool. This doesn't mean only the girls can dance. Watch this. Then the virgin shall rejoice in the dance, both young men and elders together. It isn't about just the virgins rejoicing in the dance, both the young men and the elders together in the dance. Whew. For I will turn their mourning into joy, and I will comfort them and make them rejoice from their sorrow. How free do you have to be before you'll dance? See, this is kind of a, we were talking about this, didn't we? Weren't we doing this? Something about this, about how, what would you do before you'd boogie or something? You know, how free can you be? We're not free enough. We're still concerned about what people think. This has nothing to do with what people think. This has to do with what Jesus has done for me. This is about my expression to Him. Body use. The use of our body. You see, when, I don't know if you remember, there's a certain chart out there called Spirit, Soul, and Body. I think maybe some of you have seen it once or twice. The issue is that when you get your soul set free and you're starting to get rid of the hardness of heart, and your spirit, the salvation of your spirit starts to affect, and you start gaining the salvation of your soul. And then you start bringing that into your body, and your body starts getting healed. I always stop that thing with showing red lines that go from the soul all the way up into our spirit. And in the original ones, I also took those lines and I extended them from the body all the way up. Why would I do that? Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless His holy name. How free does my soul have to be before I'll express it with my body? One more time. How free does my soul have to be before I'll express it with my body? Body use is very important. I see this happen when Mike says, okay, it's time for worship. Let's all stand. And you can see people go, do I have to stand the whole time? And you'll see visitors looking around, seeing if anybody will sit down. Because if somebody sits down, it gives them an excuse. You can watch this happen, folks. This is they don't know. What do? Do I have to stand the whole time? Well, do you? No. But the thing is, why does He ask you to stand? Because if you don't stand, nobody will. If He doesn't say stand, everybody will stay seated. So He says, let's stand. So everybody stands, and then it just gets people off of their chairs. How was I going to finish that sentence? I didn't know how I was going to finish that sentence. You can't stand on the promises when you're sitting on the premises, you know? Hey, that's what I'm telling you about. Okay? Do I stand the whole time? No. But we want you to have participation. That's why we're asking, come, let's stand. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a while back, as we had it, I said, everybody come on down front. I had everybody leave their seats and actually come down here for a song. For a song. You want to know what I saw? I saw people participating. I saw people doing it together, and they were in unity together down here. I saw something very beautiful happening for one song. Participation. Standing. Is it okay to stand? Yeah. Is it okay to sit? Yeah. As long as your sitting is participating. It's when you sit to not participate anymore that it's bad. Don't just sit. Now, see, I've seen people sit down and they're getting into worship and they're talking to Jesus and they're sitting there. Hey, that's awesome. Get into it. Get into it. I understand. I do understand. You get tired during a full set. Especially our full set. We have a tendency to go a while. Okay. Is it okay to sit? Yeah. As long as you're participating. What am I going to do? Be the standing police? Walk up and give you a ticket for sitting down, you know? Yeah, cattle prod. There you go. I can, listen, I really do have the technology to embed electrodes in the seats. I could do that, and I could even pick by number. Let's see, row 4, seat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Joe is going to stand now. Here he is. Okay. Holy Spirit, hallelujah. It's a Holy Spirit. Yes. I feel the buzz now, Holy Spirit, hallelujah. You see the guy with the little pad. Okay. Sitting, it's okay. Kneeling. I've got so many scriptures about bending the knee, bowing the knee. Okay? Or even laid out. We call this carpet time. Okay? Now, sometimes it's voluntary carpet time where you lay down before you lay before the Lord. Sometimes it's involuntary carpet time and where the Lord kind of takes you down. That's okay too. I believe in being laid out in the Spirit. I believe that the Holy Spirit can overwhelm people and take them. And it's a beautiful thing. And I see what God does so many times. It's a Holy Spirit anesthetic while He's working on the deep parts of hearts. He puts them out. I love it. I've had it happen to me, so I know what's going on. Allowing the Lord to overwhelm you. See, the issue behind all of this is, don't worry about it. Express yourself. Step out. Go kneel. I'll tell you something I do miss. I do miss because I just don't see it. People used to come forward and kneel and deal with things. And I don't see that happen very much anymore. People have a tendency to still sit in their seats. Can you deal with stuff in your seats? Yes, but there's something about going somewhere, like up front, and kneeling. We used to talk about the wall of fire at the edge of the seats. Because we'd be sitting in there, and you knew you needed to go down front, but you had to break this little wall of fire to get down there. That little fear, that little, break the wall of fire. Go find it. Kneel before the Lord. Lay before Him. Cry. Let it out. Letting yourself get lost in the moment. Say, well, I'm an adult. Let yourself get lost in the moment, which brings me to this. Emotional involvement. And this is something that we just don't talk about much in church. People don't talk about it. This is what this whole thing about the practicalities is all about. Let's talk about some of these things. Raising your hands. Kneeling. Dancing. What should you be doing? Well, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about you and the Lord. What is your emotional involvement? Can you come and be involved? Now, there's so much to talk about. Religion or relationship. We've seen it both ways, to where people had to get into religion. They had to work up emotion to get into the religion of emotion, because everybody had to be in the emotion of it. And we've seen this happen. I've seen it happen. It had nothing to do with God. It had to do with people working up their own emotion. On the other hand, I've seen people have absolutely no emotion because they say any emotion is ungodly. Okay? Oh, trust me. It's the relationship with Him. There are some times Jesus is so quiet with me. There's no hoopla. There's no jumping up and down. It's just Him and me. It's quiet. It's neat. Be still and know that I'm God. Okay, you're God. And I'm not. I find that He does that sometimes when I'm in great need of peace. He just comes meet me at a peaceful place. I don't dance. I don't shout and scream. I don't freak out. I can sit. I can do whatever. But it's about Him and me being quiet together. But then there's the times. I can even be tired, wiped out, just completely I don't want to talk to anybody about anything. And Jesus says, hi, let's play. What? Really? Yeah. Because it's the only way I'm going to get my energy into you. You're going to have to do it by faith. Let's go. Okay, here we go. God gave you emotions. They are not evil. They are not evil. They are emotions. You say, well, why didn't he just give us the good emotions? Emotions are not good or bad. They're just emotions. It's how you use them and what you do with them that make them good or bad. Is anger a good emotion or a bad emotion? Oh, it's a bad emotion. No. Not when it is the right thing, when God tells us to be angry and do not sin. See, there is an anger that goes with being angry at sin. I am a little angry right now about what's going on in my sister church in California. Why? What's happening in the church is awesome. But what's happening in his family, the defilement that's messing up with him, has me a little bit angry. Kind of ticked off over it. I want to go, this is the father in me. I always want to go rescue my kids. Always. Sometimes it's not the best thing to rescue them. Sometimes they have to learn it on their own. I want to go out to California and kick butt. I really do. I just do. I do. I want to go back and just kind of straighten it out for him. That's not God. That's not the Lord telling me to do that. If the Lord did tell me to do that, I'd be gone. I'd be out there in a heartbeat. Can Mike handle this? Yeah, he and Jesus can handle this. It bothers me, but it makes me angry. I hate the effect of people choosing sin and damaging people who are innocent. Just amazes me. God has emotions. He does. Oh yeah, it says he laughs. It says he has wrath. Ever hear about those? Right? Yes. What about Jesus himself? Now, see, this is one of those ones that people always get this idea from the old Jesus movies that Jesus walks around going. And he was just always so holy and quiet. That's not the Jesus I find in my scripture. There is emotion involved. When he clears the temple, he clears the money changers out, he didn't walk in and go, oh, you dirty person, leave. I don't see that happening.
Sound like a colonial prince. You just kind of.
I did. All right. No, I see him ripping up turning over the tables, money scattering everywhere, letting doves loose. I see him and they're all going, what? And then they don't say anything because he's coming after him. Now, it does say he made a whip out of rope. I don't think he used them on the people. He did get the animals out of there, okay? That was the only way to do that. Did he use it on the people? I don't think he had to. I don't know about you, but I had a daddy who could freeze a freight train by going, you know, I'm sure Jesus looked, hey, they back up. I was recalling a story about when we were in Wyoming when I was a youth pastor at that Southern Baptist church. We were in a city called Worland, and one of the girls in my youth group walked up. I don't know why she considered this to be something that was her job to do, but she walked up to a lady after the concert. They were having this reception, cookies and everything. She walked up to this lady sitting there and said, "You're of the devil." What? And it all blew us away. She says, "What? You're of the devil. You need to change." Now, she wasn't even part of the youth group. She was just somebody that we kind of, at the last minute, let her come so we could minister to her. And where'd she got this? And so this guy walked up to me, and I'm trying to tear down equipment and do different stuff. And the guy walks up to me and says, "I want my check back." I said, "Excuse me? What?" He says, "I want my check back." Okay. So I opened up the bag and I found his check and handed it back to him. He just took his stuff in his pocket. I says, "May I ask why?" "One of your girls just told my wife that she was of the Satan." She was of the devil. I'm buying this. And I'm just going, whoa, 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 back off. And I says, can you tell me which girl it was, right? He says, one of those three. I said, was it the one of the dark hair or whatever? I can't remember exactly. And he says, yes, it's that one. I went, okay. So sir, I'll deal with the whole thing. I'm so sorry, but it will be dealt with. You better be. And he stormed away. So I walked into the sanctuary, just walked in. I didn't walk, just boom, the doors open. I just walked in the sanctuary and just looked around because they had been moving around and she had left the room. And I looked around, all the kids in the youth group, everybody it went deathly quiet now. Sat there and stared at me. And anybody know where Tammy is? And they just threw her under the bus. Yeah, she was back there. Nobody wanted part of this. And I just walked through and walked back into this back room, and there she was with these other girls. And I says, "May I speak to you for a moment?" And the other two went, "Pew!" I didn't have the demeanor coming across just trying to rip up. I just wanted to talk. It was righteous anger. It was the indignation that comes when people are being damaged and people hurt. And it's an anointing from God that came in, and we had a really straight talk. And then I went with the pastor, and he and I went over to this lady's house. And we get there, knock on the door, and the husband reluctantly lets us in because it was with the pastor, and he let us in. And we got to sit there and listen as she was on the phone with her daddy, and she's weeping and sobbing and talking to him. She was a pastor's daughter. She had run away in kind of a semi-rebellion kind of a thing, and had just recently worked back a relationship with her dad. And then this happens. See? We got to minister to her and to all this different stuff and got this whole thing dealt with. And the father on the phone was happy. She was happy. Everybody was happy by the time it was over. And we left and went back. The entire youth group was in prayer, and they were just silent. It was an amazing evening. You can be righteously angry. Sure you can. God has emotions. And if you don't believe this, just read the passage where Jesus goes to raise Lazarus from the dead. And he went there happy. He went there, this is going to be so fun. I'm going to raise Lazarus. I'm going to wake him up. I'm going there to wake him up. He's dead. I'm going to go there and wake him up. And they all went, yeah. So they went there, and he was all waiting for everybody. And Martha comes out and says, Lord, if you'd have been here, he wouldn't have died. And he just went, if you just believe, you're going to see the glory of God. I am the resurrection and the life. Come on, this is wonderful. And he's trying to talk to her. And so she goes and gets Mary. And Mary comes out and says, Lord, if you'd have just been here, he wouldn't have died. And it says he stirred himself in the spirit, groaning. Ugh! And what was a happy thing, all of a sudden he goes, ugh! And what's he recoiling off? He's recoiling off the unbelief. And he says, take me to where you laid him. And on the way there, he hears all the people say, oh, there's the teacher. Well, if he'd have been here. And he says he groaned again. Ah! And it says Jesus wept. He got to the tomb. And you got to know the way this says it in the Greek. This is none of this, Lazarus, come forth. He said, Lazarus, here, outside. Coming, Lord. Here I come. I'm coming. Oh. They call that the Lazarus, this new kind of dance for the church. It's called the Lazarus Shuffle. It's all good. Okay. Worshiping in truth. Worshiping in truth touches all of us. When we get to really, truly worshiping in truth, this world isn't our final focus. We've got to know that there's got to be focus to get in on this. Yeah, at all. Well, we got to be in this world. We got to do business. We got to do stuff. But our focus has got to be on Jesus. Emotionalism, and this is the big thing that people always accuse the charismatic Pentecostals about: emotionalism, working up an emotion for. Folks, I don't work up an emotion. I don't have to. When I look in the face of my Jesus, it messes with me. Because I know he loves me. The world doesn't. I don't care what they think. I know what my Jesus says. And he loves me. Emotionalism? Folks, I wish we had more emotion. I wish we would let it loose and feel the things that God has for us. Making a fool of myself. People say, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Too late. To not worship makes you a fool. But you want to know what's really kind of fun? The words for praise and worship in the Old Testament, the Hebrew, there's 7 words for praise. And one of them is the Greek word hallel. And we get hallelujah from. Hallelujah means for praise to God, to Yahweh, to Yah. Praise to God. The word for hallel, look it up in your Strongs. Go ahead. And it means to be clamorously foolish. And yet, clamorously foolish to God, and we sing the song, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Clamorously foolish. Hallelujah. Did you know that's almost the only word that is across the board in all languages? It's between you and your Lord. However, he is looking for more than you are. He's looking at more from you. He's looking for you to express more, to be more into it. We have opportunities to really get into worship. If it really bothers you what people are, then go to the back. You can get away with a lot of stuff in the back. Nobody's looking. I want to let you know, nobody's looking anyway. You can do it up front and nobody cares. They aren't worried about you. It's your imagination that they're worried about you, that they're going to say something about you. Now, I just told you about Mike Walsh. It was an honor that he would dance, not a dishonor. It wasn't he's a less of a man. No. He was more of a man because he didn't care what people thought. He only wanted to do what Jesus did. That makes him more of a man to me. Okay? And for somebody with Mike's abilities and Mike's understanding, I would never say he wasn't a man. He's a man that stands before God and stands up for everything he believes in. He's a manly man. And he dances before God. And we had some guys in Greeley, different people, some guys that would dance before the Lord, and it was just, they would always dance before the Lord. No matter what. Worship happened, they would always dance. And it was always the same dance. It was always the same thing. I remember this one guy. He was a Latino, and he had this little way of dancing that was so cute. It was just him, you know, and I couldn't do the kind of dance he does. I can kind of see it, but it just, he tickled me because it was so fluid, and it was him. It was his expression of Jesus. Man, it's just too much. Worship causes us to see him higher. Worship causes us to see our dependence on him, not our independence. Dependence on him. Worship causes us to open up to what Jesus is wanting to do. Worship causes us to be humble before him. Time to humble yourself and do what you need to. Worship causes us to be able to see God. Remember, no man can see me and live the way he has been. Worship causes us to respond to him accordingly. How are you going to respond to him? How are you going to respond to him? Worship causes us to act in obedience. Lord, when he calls you to do something, do it. Get after it. Do it. I wrote this, and read it. This is what it says. Let it all go and do what you need to express to him the depth of what is true between you. That is worship in truth. Once more. I know it's a kind of a weird sentence, but let it all go. Let it all go. And do what you need to express to him the depth of what is true between you. That is worship in truth. What is the truth? He has redeemed you. What is the truth? He has saved you. What is the truth? You've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. What will that do for you? How do you want to express it? Did this make sense today? Is this making sense? Well, let's worship for a while. And again, we don't have the whole band here today. Okay? It's just one fuzzy bald guy, and that's all they're going to be. Okay? But I want you to understand what you're singing, and I want you to lose yourself in it. Okay? We're going to have some fun. Amen?
Lord, you are worthy. More than we know, more than we dare even bring to you for some reason. Lord, break through our fallacies. Break through our pettiness. Break through the menial little nothings that seem to consume our lives. May we be the people of your pasture, the sheep of your right hand. May we be the apple of your eye. May we know who we are in you. And Lord, may we give you all the glory this week. Oh. You don't even know what that means. You are awesome. Lord, we put this all in your hands today. May we not leave you here. May we stay and dwell in you, to live and abide in you today. You are so awesome. We give you all the glory. Oh, may we truly give you all the glory. Thank you, Jesus. In Jesus' precious name. Amen.